Hello and welcome to all the men and women of the West. I'm Joe. Today's topic is going to be a Tolkien recommended reading order video. It seems like every Tolkien tuber does this, and I figured I'd try to get in on the act. I'm going to try to be a little different. I'm not sure how well I'll succeed at that, so here we go. At the top of the list, of course, as usual, will be The Hobbit. You read The Hobbit, it's a good entry point into the series. And I actually think elementary schools should teach it because it's good, simple fun. It's not terribly complex. The next book in the series would probably be The Lord of the Rings. This should come as no surprise to anyone. Second book in the series, a book that should be read if you're really wanting to get into mythology/fantasy at a very deep level. It's a very good book, but it'll take a while to read. If you're a fast reader, you'll probably take about a month or so to read it. If you're a slow reader, it could take longer. For me, I read it in about 3 weeks on my first read through at 26 years old. Fell in love, but on my next few read throughs, I've been trying to read it slower and slower to absorb the language and properly enjoy every fragment of the history, all the references to The Hobbit, Silmarillion, and whatnot. Savor every part of it, because that's how Tolkien should be read. You should read his books very slowly, methodically, and enjoy it. Don't try to speed through it. Read it slow. Enjoy it. It's great. It's perfect. It's not so much the end as the journey. And I know that I went on a bit of a tangent there, but it's really important to enjoy yourself, because that's what Tolkien wanted, is for us all to have fun whilst reading. And that's what Lord of the Rings is about. Life, suffering, love, faith, and of course, pleasure. The pleasure of reading, more than any other pleasure. Without further ado, let's jump to the next book to read. Now, this is where it's going to get a little more complicated. You could jump into the Unfinished Tales if you want, but I don't recommend going that route. I know some people who've recommended that as the next book. I'm going to recommend the Silmarillion. This is where I'm going to be a bit different from some of the others, I think. I would advise that you read all the way up to Beren and Lúthien's chapter in the book. Stop and pick up the Beren and Lúthien book and read that. And you'll get a far more complete sense of the epic there than if you just read through the Silmarillion version. You should read afterwards. Then after that, read up to the tale of Turin Turambar, or the Children of Húrin. At that point, stop, pick up the novel of Children of Húrin, and read that. It's a great book, one of the finest reads you'll ever find. And from there, read up to the chapter of the Fall of Gondolin, at which point you pick up the Fall of Gondolin book, read that, and then you continue to the end of the Silmarillion. And I know this is a really weird way of reading the Silmarillion, but there's a lot more detail and a lot more attention given to the individual characters and whatnot. And there's most of the versions of the tales in these individual books, in the 3 epic books of the Silmarillion, which is really more a collection of mythic stories than a proper novel. You got to treat it as such. At this point, after you finish the Silmarillion and the 3 big epics of the Elder Days, you're gonna be, if you're still hungry for Tolkien at that point, I would recommend the Unfinished Tales. And you could even interrupt if you want your reading of the Akallabeth partway through to read the Unfinished Tales, notably The Mariner's Wife, which, while not my favorite tale of Tolkien's, does make you think, and it should, because that's what reading's about, making you think and making you feel. Once you're done with the Unfinished Tales there, you can finish the Akallabeth if you've put it on hold. This way of reading will give you, I think, far more appreciation for the world of Middle-earth. If you disagree, that's fine, but I think this is how I've been trying to read these books. Now, if you speak a different language than English, I would recommend going to your native language and picking up a copy of Lord of the Rings. It's probably in your native language. I've recently picked up the French version, and I've been reading it, and I've been enjoying it. It's like reading Lord of the Rings for the first time, again. And I love this feeling of picking it up for the first time and reading it for the first time. It's a very special feeling. Once you've done that, if you want, I would recommend, if you're still really hungry for Middle-earth, you can maybe pick up the History of Middle-earth. Be warned, very expensive set of books. Very expensive, a few $100s. That's for us Canadians and Americans there. But if you're from elsewhere in the world, it's still going to be really pricey. Bear in mind that when you're reading this, it's mostly going to be various drafts and whatnot of The Great Professor. Once you reach the best part in the history of Middle-earth, which is Morgoth's Ring. Be prepared for some dense reading. It's all essays. From there, I'd recommend picking up Nature of Middle-earth, giving that a good thorough read. It's really enjoyable and fascinating, especially the parts about the metaphysics, the laws and customs, the nature itself of the Eldar and of the Valar and of Valinor and whatnot. It's just so interesting. Once you're done reading that, I recommend a reread of starting back over to The Hobbit or the Silmarillion and reading through the entire series. And you'll be given a very special feeling there of being able to notice the little references to the ancient history and whatnot that Tolkien created. Each one of these books is a massive page turner. Notably, I found, Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and Silmarillion, and the attendant epics, massive page turners. Happy reading. Hope this has helped you in some way. If you're new to Lord of the Rings, this video is specifically geared towards you. If you're a veteran reader of Tolkien's works, I hope you might get some good ideas for reading through the series. Or if you have your own advice for how to read it or disagree with some elements of this video, let me know in the comments. I will read it. Don't forget to leave a like, as this helps push forward this channel and this video to the forefront, and there's a lot of stiff competition on YouTube, and I could really use your help. And if you're really feeling generous, smash that subscribe button like you're Sauron trying to smash Gil-galad into itty-bitty pieces.